ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपथकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दिनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरं योऽन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसूक्तां सञ्जीवयति अखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्नां अन्यां च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणां नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं जयदं सुरतो पङ्गोर्मम मन्दमतिर्गति मत्सर्वस्य पादाम्बुजो राधा मदनमोहनो तमादिदेवं करुणानिधानं तमालवर्णं सुहृदावतारम् अपार संसार समुद्र सेतुं भजामहे भागवत स्वरूपम् परमानंद पाठाय प्रेमवर्षीय क्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोस्तुमे गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्ण भक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा हरि ओम तत्सत। So we are conducting this Srimad Bhagavatam after a gap of almost 2 months, more than 2 months. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter from text 12 onwards. So welcome all the devotees once again. I hope this will continue, this association continues, for my, at least for my benefit. Okay, because without association, it's very difficult to survive. Okay, because this time we will spend for so many other unwanted things. If we have some class at so and so time, we will prepare for that. Okay, this class is there, so we have to attend. So that much time, whether it is 1 hour or half an hour, 1.5 hours, that much time we are not doing any prajalpa, we are not doing any other so-called material activities. We will be associating with devotees and we will be discussing about Krishna Katha. It is said that taddinam durdinam manye meghachannam na durdinam yaddinam krishna sallabham katha piyusha varjitam. Okay, it is said in the scriptures, taddinam durdinam manye meghachannam na durdinam. That day is not bad day when there is heavy cloud and it is going to pour heavy rain. Actually, we say, when there is, going to be rain, it's very difficult how we can go out. We cannot go out, we cannot do anything. We'll have to confine to our home, isn't it? So Shastra says that is not the bad day. Which is the bad day? Yaddinam Krishna Sallabham Katha Piyusha Varjanam. Which that day when there is no Krishna Katha going on. Okay. That day, where there is no Krishna Katha, there is no discussion of Guna, Rupa, Leela, and Nam of Krishna. That day is a bad day, not the day that is going to rain heavily. Usually we say, oh, this day is very bad because it's going to rain, heavy cloud is there. Okay. Anytime it may rain, we cannot go out, we cannot do anything. But that is not a bad day. The bad day is when there is no Krishna Katha. That day is the bad day. That is what our Shastra says. So at least once in a week, we should come together. And as in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Machchitta Madgada Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam Kathayantasya Mam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. How we can relish each and every moment of our life? By discussing only Krishna Katha. If you discuss politics, if you discuss films, sports, or any other mundane activities, we will end up in misery only. There'll be differences of opinion. We will fight each other. And after that meeting, we'll have only problems, miseries, no peace of mind. But when we discuss Krishna Katha, when we discuss about the pastimes of Lord Krishna, the glories of his holy name, okay, and his Rupa, his Leela, will be relishing more and more. And that relish, it keeps increasing. That is what Krishna says to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. Matchitta madgada prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantasya mam nityam. Kathayanta, about whom? Mam. That is Krishna. So Krishna is telling, when you discuss Leelas of myself, my glories, okay, Tushyanticha Ramanticha, you'll be always happy. You'll always relish. And this is not decreasing, it's always increasing. Whereas our material happiness keeps decreasing as the time lapses, as the time passes by. So we should always, whenever we get time, at least once in a day, we should, come together and discuss about Krishna Katha. So if not together, at least every day, we should spend some time for ourselves. That's a meeting between us, the individual soul, and the super soul. Between us, the Jivatma, and the Paramatma. Between us and the Bhagavan. So like that, we can devote some time every day, by means of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We can spend some time chanting his holy names, which will purify our consciousness, contaminated consciousness. And we can read Bhagavad Gita Bhagavatam, which again will purify our consciousness. Because now, at the moment, our consciousness are contaminated with so many material activities, material things. So at least to offset that, at least to go away from or come out of all these problems, Krishna will help us, provided we chant his holy name, we discuss about his glories. So every day we have to devote some time for chanting and reading and listening from other devotees. Like that, we can chalk out our daily program, from so and so time to so and so time, chanting, then worshipping, reading, and attending different classes, then office, and come back, spend time with family, some recreation. Again, before we go to sleep, read one or two slokas. Thinking of Krishna's pastimes, we have to go to bed. Not seeing the films or talking some mundane matters. Because if we are going to sleep, and before sleep, if we talk something mundane, that will be in our mind. So before we go to sleep, at least one sloka, okay, if we read or if we recite, then go to sleep. At least bad dreams won't come. So this is how we should spend our daily. There should be a regulated activities. We should know what time we should do what. We are all working. We have to go to office 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours. But then we need to allocate some time for our spiritual activities also. That's a must. That is primary. Other things will automatically come if you take care of the primary activities. Unfortunately, most of us are giving importance to the secondary activities. Okay. Secondary activities will go very smoothly provided we do our primary activities very nicely. That is, primary activities is Krishna conscious activities. Okay, so we'll begin text 12. Tashraddhadhanamunayo jnana-vairagya-yuktaya pasyandyatmannitchidatmanam bhaktya shrudha-grihitaya. Tashraddhadhanamunayo jnana-vairagya-yuktaya pasyandyatmannitchidatmanam bhaktya shrudha-grihitaya. Okay, Vivek Prabhu, can you please recite?
धानामुनयो ज्ञान वैराग्य युक्तया पश्यन्तत्तामनि चत्तानं भक्ता श्रुत गृहीतया.
Very bold. And translation, Jeeveshwar Mataji, can you please?
The seriously inquisitive students or sage, well equipped with knowledge and
Detachment.
and detachment, realize that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in
terms of
terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Struti.
very bold. So the seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. So, who can be a realized person? That's what it is said. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment. So how do we get knowledge? We have to study scrutinizingly our scriptures. We do not have the capacity or knowledge or ability to understand all the scriptures, especially because everything is in Sanskrit and we don't know Sanskrit language. So there, the acharyas like Srila Prabhupada are very, very compassionate that he has translated with commentaries of various acharyas like Sridhara Swami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baldev Vidyabhushan, and he has in very simplified version of that Vedic literatures. In essence, he has presented to us very simple language. So it is his compassion that we are able to read and understand to some extent about our scriptures. So we should be inquisitive. We should scrutinizingly study our scriptures. That's why it is said, well equipped with knowledge and detachment. So when we have the knowledge, we'll also have detachment. Jnana, Vairagya. Vairagya follows with Jnana only. If you have Jnana, definitely Vairagya follow. Why Vairagya? Because if you have a lot of attachment to the worldly things, then we will not be able to get out of the material existence. So we should have knowledge, and that knowledge will be followed by Vairagya, detachment from worldly affairs. It's not that we will not do any worldly duties. We will do the worldly duties with a mood of or attitude of detachment. I am not attached. Just like how Krishna says to Arjuna, you have the right to do your duty, but you have no right to enjoy the fruits of that activity. So as a grahastha, as a parent, as a child, or as a citizen, we should do all our duties very meticulously, very nicely. We should fulfill all the responsibilities, and we should not run away from that. But then the result is not in our hand. The result will come according to our karma, according to the sanction of the Supreme Authority, Lord Krishna. So that's why he said, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realize that person can realize that absolute truth. And how is it possible? By rendering devotional service. And this devotional service is not whimsically. We cannot do the devotional service or devotion to Supreme Lord whimsically. There are certain rules and regulations, prohibitions and prescriptions, yama niyama, given in the Vedanta Sutra, Vedanta Shruti, or other literatures. We should follow. So devotional service, that is 9 types of devotional service: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Mandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. So we should do this devotional service. So in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti, that means as per the injunctions of the Shastras. We should not do it whimsically, because many of us, hearsay. We have been doing the spiritual activities traditionally. What our parents are doing, we are just repeating. Maybe it is correct, maybe it is wrong. We don't know. So we should not do any activities, any devotional activities blindly. We should know, is it right? Is it as per Shastras? And if it is wrong, we should be able to correct it. Not, okay, my father has been doing it, or my mother has been doing it, or my community has been doing it, so I'm doing it. I don't know why I'm doing it. No, it should not be that. We should be convinced, yes, this is what the Shastra says. This is what the Acharya says. So I should just follow in their footsteps. Not that whimsically, whatever I feel like, I will do. No. So that's why very specifically it is mentioned here what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. The Vedanta Shruti means the Vedas, okay, the scriptures. So whatever the scriptures tell us, that we have to follow. Not traditionally, we may be doing so many things. It may be right, it may not be right, we don't know. So if it is right, follow it, continue it. If it is not right, then we should be able to correct it. So that's what, the Siddha Goswami tells the sages of Naimisharanya. So the absolute truth is realized in full by the process of devotional service to the Lord. Vasudeva, or the personality of Godhead, who is the full-fledged absolute truth. Brahman is his transcendental bodily effulgence, and Paramatma is his partial representation. As we have heard it and learned it earlier, that the Supreme Lord has three aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. And Bhagwan is the ultimate, the last word for the Supreme Absolute Truth. So the person who knows Bhagwan knows the other two aspects as well. But the person who focuses only on Brahman, he doesn't know much about Paramatma and Bhagwan features of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Person who focuses more on Paramatma knows both Brahman and Paramatma. But the person who knows the Supreme Lord as Bhagwan, he knows all the three aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. So as such, Brahman or Paramatma realization of the absolute truth is but a partial realization. So we have to understand that those who know only Brahman or Paramatma doesn't care for the Bhagwan aspect of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Their understanding is only partial. So whose understanding is complete? The person who knows Bhagwan, because in that Bhagwan, all the other two aspects are also included. Okay, just like the hierarchy of Bhumi, Apo, Analo, Vayu, Kham. So Kham is the subtlest, and as it goes down from up, or from down to top, if you are having the earth is the grossest. As you go higher up, it becomes subtler. Okay, so earth has all other elements. Okay, what are the five elements? Panchamahabhuta. What are Panchamahabhuta? What is the sloka in Bhagavad Gita? Bhumirapo
Hare
analo
Krishna.
vayu kammano buddhireva cha ahankara iti yamme binna pragidirashtada. Bhumirapo analo vayu kham. Bhumi is what? Earth. Apo means water. Anala means fire. Okay. Vayu means air. Kham means sky or space or ether. Okay. These are the Pancha Mahabhuta. In earth, all other four elements, water, fire, air, ether is there. Okay. But in water, Bhumi is not there. All other elements are there. In fire, water and water and earth is not there. All other elements are like that. Progressively it goes. Okay. Similarly, in Bhagwan, the other two aspects, Brahman and Paramatma, is also there. In Brahman, only Brahman is there. In Paramatma, Paramatma and Brahman is there. But in Bhagwan, Paramatma and Brahman. That's why I said this, example. So, as such, Brahman or Paramatma realization is the absolute truth, is but a partial realization, not complete realization. There are 4 different types of human beings: the karmis, the jnanis, the yogis, and the devotees. Generally, they are categorized as 4 karmis. What is the speciality of karmis? Karmis, they do activity expecting some result, isn't it? And what about jnanis? What about jnanis? What are they specialized for? Karmis, they do any activity with some expectation. The motivation to do activities that they will get some result and can enjoy. That is karmi. Jnanis, what is the motivation for them to do studies of scriptures? The jnanis, they speculate. They study the scriptures, Vedas and Upanishads and Puranas. They study. They don't indulge more in activities because they're afraid if, as we all know, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So if they indulge in more material activities, they will be bound to this material world because of reactions of their activities. So they don't indulge much in activities, karma. They are interested only in studying Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, and other scriptures. So they will not be bound to this material world, though they are, after studies of the scriptures, they will, move away. They will keep themselves away from the material activities, which, by which they will get some reactions. So jnanis means usually they study the shastras, speculate the shastras. Neti, not this, not that. They keep speculating. Okay. So that is jnanis. And yogis, what do they do?
Niyaswarth means like there is no expectation. It's like
Yogis, they want to meditate on the Supreme Lord.
yeah.
Okay. So the real yogi is one who meditates on the Supreme Lord for elevation to the spiritual world, for moksha, for mukti. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but some yogis utilizes that meditation for material result.
Benefit. Okay.
Benediction. There are ashta siddhis. Okay. There are 8 types of siddhis that they can achieve by doing this yoga practice. But that is not the purpose of the yoga system. So most of the yogis, they want to attain some mystic powers. They can control others. They can become the smallest. They can become the biggest. They can reach out things that are very far. Like that, there are ashtasiddhis, 8 siddhis. So most of the yogis does yoga practice for mysticism, to get mystic powers. But that is not the aim of yoga. Yoga is to attain the Supreme Lord. Okay, so the yogis and devotees. So devotees, they will do anything and everything. They will not run away from any activities. Okay? They will do. They may be grahastha, they may be vanaprastha, sannyasi, or brahmachari. They will do all activities, but everything they will dovetail in the service of Supreme Lord, not for their enjoyment. So that is bhakta. So who is the real devotee? It's a bhakta. Not the karmis, not the jnanis, not the yogis, but bhakta. So the karmis are materialistic, whereas the other 3 are transcendental. Why transcendental? Provided they utilize that process in the right manner. The jnana to attain Supreme Lord, the yoga to attain Supreme Lord, and the bhakti to attain Supreme Lord. Then that's why they are called transcendental. If they are utilizing the same process for material benefit, then they are not transcendental. So we have to be very careful in this. Karmis are materialistic because we know they are doing the activity only for getting the results. So we are sure. But the other 3, that is jnanis, yogis, and bhaktas, they can misuse also this process. They can misuse, but they should not misuse. So they should do this devotional activity, keeping in mind that this is to elevate ourselves to the supreme abode of the Supreme Lord, not for material benefit. As I told you, Jnanis also can, study the scriptures for some name, fame, scholarship and all. And yogis, they can practice this process for material mysticism. Bhaktas are also can misuse it. So here transcendental means the three category people are transcendental because they are using this process just to attain the Supreme Lord. That's why. So the first class transcendentalists are the devotees. So among the three, jnanis, yogis, and bhaktas, who are the first class? Devotee, bhakta, who have realized the Supreme Person. The second class transcendentalists are those who have partially realized the plenary portion of the Absolute Person. So second class is yogis, third class, they are the, jnanis. So, and the third class transcendentalists are those who have barely realized the spiritual focus of the Absolute Person. That is Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. So Bhagwan aspect for bhaktas, the yogis, their aspect is Paramatma, the jnanis, the aspect is Brahman. So as stated in Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literatures, Supreme Person is realized by devotional service, which is backed by full knowledge and detachment from material association. So it's very clear. Backed by full knowledge and detachment. So that full knowledge is that this life, this human life, is meant for self-realization, not for sense gratification. This should be clear. Only then the detachment will take place. So by full knowledge and detachment from material association. Asat Sangam. Asat Sangam means bad association. We should go away from that. We should not be part of the bad association. Or bad association means associating with materially oriented people, those who are very much interested in sense gratification. So our association should be with the devotees who can motivate us to do spiritual activities and get out of the material activity. So the material association should be to the extent that is necessary. Since we are in the material world, we cannot avoid the association of worldly minded people. Okay, that's also much. We are all grasa, we are working in offices, okay, other places. We have to deal with many materially oriented people. How we can control that? We should associate with them to the extent that is required, not beyond that. We should try to give them association, but not take their association. So material association should be avoided as far as possible, to be restricted to the extent it is required. We have already discussed the point that devotional service is followed by knowledge and detachment from material association. As Brahman and Paramatma realization are imperfect realizations of the absolute truth, so the means of realizing Brahman and Paramatma, that is paths of jnana and yoga, are also imperfect means of realizing the absolute truth. So here it's very clearly said that means of realizing Brahman and Paramatma, that is the paths of jnana and yoga, are imperfect. Why it is imperfect? Because it is incomplete understanding. So devotional service, which is based on the foreground of full knowledge combined with detachment from material association, and which is fixed by the oral reception of the Vedanta Stuti, is the only perfect method by which the seriously inquisitive student can realize the absolute truth. So as we have learned in the earlier classes, that 3 ways of acquiring knowledge. Okay, Pratyaksha, Anumana, and one more is there. What is that? Can anybody say? What is the third one? 3 types of acquiring knowledge. Forgot?
Sending by
Hare
question.
Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, Shravanam, Kirtanam, and Dhyanam. No?
We get knowledge in 3 ways. Pratyaksha, by seeing. Now I'm seeing all of you. Okay, I know that Vivek Prabhu is there, Kapil Prabhu is there, Madaji is there, Mandana Madaji. I'm seeing you, Pratyaksha. Although it is, through net, whatever it is, I can say yes, very well. At this point of time, Vivek Prabhu was there in my class. So Pratyaksha Praman. Okay, Anuman. Okay, Vivek Prabhu is telling, oh, at so and so time, I will be there in Calcutta. Okay, so at that particular time, I'm not seeing him, but I'm just assuming, yes, because he has told me he will be there at so and so time in Kolkata. So Anuman, assumption, assuming. It is indefinite. It may or may not be right. It's assumption only. Isn't it? Assuming. And the third one is Shabda Praman. Shabda, what is Shabda means? Sound. That which is heard from Shruti. Shruti means Vedas, scriptures. So there are three. So of the three, the best way of receiving knowledge is Shruti. Pratyaksha may or may not be correct. Why? Can you give any example for that? It may be right, it may not be right. Pratyaksha, I'm seeing. For example, I'm seeing Vivek Prabhu in my video, that is there. It's a Pratyaksha. But he can cheat me also. He can put some photo, some moving photo. Nowadays, the children are very expert, They are attending class. They are not there. They are just playing with the, net, and they're putting some photo as if they are there very much in the class. Isn't it? So cheating is there. My senses are imperfect. Somebody else can be there and put Vivek Prabhu's face photo in front of that in such a morphing way. It looks like Vivek Prabhu. So my Pratyaksha, my senses are imperfect to capture the exact thing. Then it can be wrong also. So Pratyaksha can be right or can be wrong also, isn't it? And what is the second reason that Pratyaksha may not be right? Cheating, as I told you, cheating. Okay. So in imperfect senses, Pratyaksha may or may not be. Another thing, now we are seeing the sun. How big is the sun? What is the size of the sun? How many millions of kilometer radius? Isn't it? But when we see, how big is the sun? Just like a puppet. Is it the size of the sun? The Pratyaksha is not right there. Why? Because our senses are imperfect. We cannot see the sun as it is in its original size. So Pratyaksha is again failed there. Take a 1 rupee coin, keep close to your eyes, and you can cover the sun. A 1 rupee coin can cover the sun, such a gigantic body. So Pratyaksha again failed there. Isn't it? Then Anumana, assumption. As I told you, Vivek Prabhu told me that 7 o'clock, he will be there in Kolkata. And I'm assuming that 7 o'clock, he will be there. But then because of traffic problem and delay in some other thing, he could not reach on time. He reached 8 o'clock. So Anumana is also failed there. But Shabda. Shabda is the right source of getting knowledge because it is coming from the bona fide parampara. It is stemming from Lord Krishna and down to us through the bona fide sampradaya of acharyas. That which is heard. That's why it is called Shruti, Vedanta Shruti. That which is heard from the bona fide source. So it cannot go wrong because the acharyas are beyond these 4 defects. A person who is beyond the 4 defects will get the right information. What are the 4 defects? I told you. Imperfect senses, cheating propensity, we cheat others. I told you the example of morphing and putting some picture and all these things. Cheating propensity, committing mistakes. We commit mistakes, right? Then subject to be illusioned. So these are the 4 defects because of which whatever we see or whatever we hear, that is by the medium of pratyaksha and anumana, it may or may not be right. It may be right or it may not be right. But Shruti 100%, because we are hearing from the right source, who are beyond the 4 defects, who are beyond the 3 modes of material nature. Only a person beyond the 4 defects can give us the right information. If they are within the 3 modes of material nature, they are subjected to be influenced by the 4 defects, which we all of us have. So from the acharyas who are beyond the 3 modes of material nature, who are beyond the 4 defects, can give us the real message, and that is called Shabda. So Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, these are all Shabda Praman. These are all Shabda Praman. It's not Pratyaksha Praman, it is not Anuman Praman, it is Shabda Praman. That's why it is said here, Vedanta Shruti. Shruti means that which is heard from the right source. So materially also, we can rely upon certain things by Shruti. For example, about a university, which is the best university. We ask some of our relatives or friends who have studied there, or who is teaching there, or who knows about that university. So from there we can know, because he's a teacher, he's a professor there, he's a lecturer there, or a student who has studied there. We will get the information, feedback. Yes, this university is best because of so and so reason. I studied there, I teach there. Isn't it? Blindly we don't take up admission in any university. Doctor, we ask the opinion of doctors. I have so and so problem. Which is the best physician? Whom should I contact? Okay, I know a doctor. His name is so and so. He is in so and so hospital. He's a very good doctor. He has, done surgery of hundreds of patients. So you can rely upon him. Very trustworthy. Like that, we also depend to a certain extent on Shabda. But that also can go wrong. But here, Shabda, that's scriptures received from the acharyas, bona fide acharyas, who doesn't have the 4 defects, who are beyond the 3 modes of material nature, 100% we can rely upon. And such scripture is Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Vedas, and everything. That's why it is Shabda Praman. That is what here it is said, which is based on the foreground of full knowledge combined with detachment from material association, and which is fixed by the oral reception. So in the earlier days, this knowledge was received by oral reception. Nothing was in written. Guru to Shishya, like that, it comes in bona fide disciplines association. Of the Vedanta Shruti is the only perfect method. Only perfect method. Other methods may or may not. We are not sure. But this is 100%. Shabda Praman is 100%. By which the seriously inquisitive student can realize the absolute truth. For example, we know the stool of any living beings is bad. It is inauspicious. It is contaminated. We will not go near, isn't it? Whether it is human or animals or whatever it is, the what you call the stool or the excretia, right? That is very, very contaminated. It is impure. It is inauspicious. We will not touch and we will not go near. But at the same time, the scripture says the cow dung is pure. Okay? And the scripture says the bone of any living entity is also impure. But we know the shank is also bone of an animal. Okay, a creature in the sea, in the aquatic. So that's also pure. We use both in devotional service. So this is Shabda Praman, isn't it? The cow dung is pure. It makes that place, contaminated place, pure. It is antiseptic. It has antiseptic value. The conch shell, which is equal to the bone of an animal, it's pure. We are using an auspicious item in devotional activity, devotional service. So this is coming from the scriptures. This is Shruti. We accept that. That's the example it gives. So devotional service is not therefore meant for the less intelligent class of transcendentalists. So devotional service to that, highly higher type of devotees on the level of higher platform. So we're all lucky that we are at least trying to practice the devotional service, not the karmis, not the jnanis, not the yogis. So there are three classes of devotees, namely first, second, and third class. The third class devotees or the neophytes who have no knowledge and are not detached from material association, but who are simply attracted by the preliminary process of worshipping a deity temple are called material devotees. Can anyone say there are three now here? It is said there are three classes of devotee, namely first, second, and third. So what are the Sanskrit term for these three classes of devotees? Can anyone remember?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Is Uttam, Madhyam, and Kanishth?
Yes, exactly. Very bold. Uttam, Madhyam, and Kanishth. Kanishth is the third class. Okay. First class is Uttam. Second is Madhyam. Okay. So this is that's what Prabhupada says in the purport. The third class devotee or neophytes who have no knowledge and are not detached from it. So usually the third class, the Kanishta Adhigaris, they are mostly attached to the material activities, and they say that the God is only in the temple. They cannot see the God anywhere in other places. So that is the lowest. And second, worshipping the deity in the temple and called material devotee. Material devotees are more attached to material benefit, karmis, as I told you, than transcendental profit. So most of the karmi, the devotees who are on the platform of karma, they go to the temple, worship the deities just for material benefits. Therefore, one has to make definite progress from the position of material devotional service to the second class devotional position, that is Madhyam, Madhyamadhikari. In the second class position, the devotee can see four principles in the devotional line, namely the personality of Godhead, the devotees, the ignorant, and the envious. So they consider the four principles. What are the fund? The devotional activities, the devotional line, namely personality of Godhead, Bhagwan, his devotees, bhaktas, and the ignorant. The ignorant means those who are ignorant of all these spiritual activities, and the envious of the bhaktas, envious of the Bhagwan. So there are four principles. So what they follow the devotional activities very meticulously, okay, very sincerely. They worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They see the Supreme Lord not only in the temple but everywhere. They see the hands of Supreme Lord in each and every creation, both spiritual and material. When they see a very good sea, very good scenery, very good forest, hill, other living in a hill, he see the creation, the best creation, the the best precise engineering of the Supreme Lord. They see in this material world itself, so many creations are there. It's all made by the Supreme Lord. See, look at our system, how it is working. Are we controlling the system, our body? No. Everything is controlled, and everything is properly functioning by the supervision of the Supreme Lord. Isn't it? So the Madhyamadhikari knows all these things very well. And devotees, And they don't associate with the envious people. Those who are not believers, Nastik, they will keep them away. And ignorant, they will have compassion, they will try to teach them, bring them in devotional service. So these are the 4 principles the Madhyama Adhigaris, the second class devotees, will engage in. One has to raise himself to the, at least to the stage of second class devotee, and thus become eligible to know the absolute truth. Only in the second class level, Madhyama level, will be able to understand the supreme absolute truth. Third class devotee, therefore, has to receive the instructions of devotional service from the authoritative sources of Bhagavata. The number 1 Bhagavata is the established personality of a devotee, and the other Bhagavatam is the message of Godhead. So the third class devotee, that is the Uttama Adhikari, the top class devotee, therefore has to go the personality of devotee in order to learn the instructions of devotee. So they know how to learn and from birth to learn. They go to a bhakta, sincere bhakta, to know more about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a personality of devotee is not a professional man who earns his livelihood by the business of Bhagavatam. So we should understand that they will not sell Bhagavatam. They will not sell devotees. Usually, there are many professional reciters of Bhagavatam. They give classes for earning their livelihood. So that is not what is spoken here. They are not Uttamadhiyaris. They may be speaking Bhagavatam very nicely, but they may not be practicing what they preach. Are they third class? The top class? No. Because they are doing this just for their survival. So we should be very careful. Such a devotee must be a representative of Sukadeva Goswami, like Siddha Goswami, and must preach the cult of devotional service for the all-around benefit of people. So who is the third class? A follower of Sukadeva Goswami, Siddha Goswami, and other acharyas who practices what they preach. Achar, prachar. Not that only prachar, no achar. They should practice what they preach in the line of all the acharyas. Such a person is the top class or the third class devotee, and must preach the cult of devotional service for all round benefit of all people. A neophyte makes a show of hearing from the professional man to satisfy the senses. So, a Kanishta Adhikari will be, attracted by the professional reciters. Why? Because they want to satisfy the senses. This sort of hearing and chanting has spoiled the whole thing. So one should be very careful about the faulty process. So these processes are all faulty because it doesn't take you to the right destination. Our destination is the Vaikuntha, Goloka Vrindavana, the spiritual abode. Our destination is to get out of this material world and go to the spiritual world. So by this faulty process, we cannot reach there. This sort of hearing and chanting has spoiled the whole thing. So one should be very careful about the faulty process. The holy messages of Godhead, as inculcated in the Bhagavad Gita or in the Srimad Bhagavatam, are undoubtedly transcendent subjects. So the knowledge that we get from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and from other scriptures, these are all transcendental matters and are not to be received from the professional man. We should not get this from professional people. It is just like a glass full of milk. Serpent has touched that. Will we drink? Because it has become poison. Maybe one drop, that's enough. Similarly, if we listen such spiritual matters from a professional person who is not pure, who is not bona fide, it is as good as consuming that, milk which is touched by the tongue of the serpent. That's why, Prabhupada is just warning us not to be received from the professional man who spoils them As it is said here, as the serpent spoils milk simply by the touch of his tongue. I didn't see that. Just it's already there in the next sentence. Okay, so and sincere devotee must therefore be prepared to hear the Vedic literatures like the Upanishads, Vedanta, and other literatures left by the previous authorities or Goswamis for the benefit of his purpose. So we should be careful to receive from the right sources, from the right bona fide sampradaya, from the right devotee for our improvement, for our advancement. Without hearing such literatures, one cannot make actual progress. So if you want to really progress in spiritual life, then we have to adopt this method. And without hearing and following the instruction, the show of devotional service becomes worthless and therefore a sort of disturbance in the path of devotional service. Unless therefore devotional service is established on the principles of Shruti, Smriti, Purana or Pancaratra authorities. The make show of devotional service should at once be rejected. So we should listen, we should do this process, devotional service process, according to Shruti, Smriti, Purana, Pancaratra. These are the authorized scriptures by which we can conduct our devotional activities. All other processes should be rejected. An unauthorized devotee should never be recognized as a pure devotee. By assimilation, why Prabhupada is warning all of us? Because we are spending so much time in our devotional activities. And if we don't achieve the desired result, our time is gone. This human life is very, very precious. With very difficult, we have attained this human form of life. And we don't utilize that in the right way, then we are wasting this human form of life. That's why Prabhupada is warning us. By assimilation of such a message from the Vedic literatures, one can see the all-pervading localized aspect of the personality of Godhead within his own self constantly. This is called Samadhi. Samadhi means attaining that stage when we are totally focused on the Supreme Lord Vishnu or Krishna. That's Samadhi. We have no other business. So that is the Samadhi. So I think time is over. So next is 13. I already marked there. I don't know for which class I marked there. Anyway. Hmm. 13. Okay. So please, you also please make a note of that. Mancha kalpatarubhesya kripa sindhubhya vacha patidanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo. Ananta Kodi Vaishnavanti Srila Prabhupada ki, Guru Maharaj ki, Thago Premanandi. Hari Hari Bo.